Let's talk about that moment. You know the one, the shift, the tension. When someone who used to celebrate you suddenly turns cold, maybe they pull away, stop calling, or if we're being really honest, start actively rooting against you. And if you're human, you ask yourself, what did I do? We are wired for connection. We long to be seen, accepted, loved. So when someone who once cared about us turns away, it stings deeply. And the stories we tell ourselves in those moments can be brutal. I must have done something wrong. Maybe I'm too much or not enough. Let's start with something that might be hard to hear. When people suddenly start hating you, it's rarely about you. It feels personal, of course it does, but more often than not, their reaction has little to do with who you are and everything to do with what they are carrying. Hurt people hurt people. We've all heard that phrase before, but we don't always recognize when it's happening in real time. When someone lashes out at you, rejects you, or turns cold, the instinct is to think, what did I do? But the real question is, what are they going through? The unseen battles, every single person you encounter is fighting battles you can't see. Old wounds, unspoken fears, insecurities they keep buried because facing them would be too painful. And when they experience discomfort, when something about you reminds them of what they haven't healed, they project that pain outward. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who has spent their entire life feeling invisible. Maybe they were never truly seen by their parents. Maybe they've been ignored, overlooked, or dismissed in relationships or at work. Deep down, they crave recognition, but they've also convinced themselves they'll never get it. Then here you come, bold, unapologetic, stepping into your light. You aren't afraid to take up space. You aren't afraid to be seen. To them, your confidence feels like a slap in the face, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your existence reminds them of the void inside themselves. And instead of doing the hard work of healing, they take the easy way out, resentment. The cycle of projection. We all have emotions we struggle to deal with: anger, jealousy, fear, inadequacy. When we don't process them, they don't just disappear, they look for a place to go. That's where projection comes in. Projection happens when people take the things they don't want to acknowledge about themselves and assign them to someone else. If they feel powerless, they call you controlling. If they feel insecure, they call you arrogant. If they're afraid of being left behind, they accuse you of thinking you're better than them. You see this happen in friendships and families and workplaces. It happens online every single day. A person who feels unworthy sees someone thriving, and instead of being inspired, they get angry. They don't hate you, they hate the reflection of their own struggles that you unknowingly hold up to them. Pain needs a target. When people are in pain, they want relief. And if they don't know how to heal, they look for something or someone to blame. It's much easier to say, you've changed, than to admit, I haven't grown. It's much easier to say, you think you're better than me, than to say, I feel like I'm falling behind. It's much easier to say, you hurt me, than to say, I'm hurting. And so they take their unresolved pain and direct it at you. You become the problem, the villain in their story, the reason they feel the way they do. But the truth is, you're just the nearest target, breaking the pattern. So what do we do with this? How do we respond when we realize that the hate we're experiencing isn't really about us? First, we stop internalizing it. When someone turns on you, it's okay to feel hurt, but don't let it rewrite your self-worth. Their feelings are real, but that doesn't mean their judgment of you is true. Second, we practice compassion without accepting recognizing that someone's actions stem from their own wounds doesn't mean you have to tolerate their behavior. You can understand where their pain is coming from and still walk away. You can forgive without allowing them back into your space. And finally, we remember that their pain is not ours to carry. We all have a responsibility to do our own healing. You are not responsible for someone else's projections, jealousy, or fears. Your job is to keep showing up as your most authentic self, even if that means some people can't handle it. Because at the end of the day, the people who are meant to walk with you won't see your light as a threat. They'll see it as an invitation to shine too. Let's talk about one of the hardest truths about human relationships. Sometimes the reason people start hating you has nothing to do with anything you've done wrong. It's not because you hurt them, betrayed them, or changed in some terrible way. It's because, without even meaning to, you became a mirror that forced them to see something they weren't ready to face. This happens more often than we realize. We assume that when people distance themselves, criticize us, or resent us, there must be a clear reason. But often what's really happening is something much deeper, something they might not even be fully aware of themselves. Why mirrors are uncomfortable. Imagine standing in front of a mirror first thing in the morning. No filters, no soft lighting, just the raw, unedited version of yourself. Some mornings you look in the mirror and think, okay, I can work with this. Other times you cringe. You see the tired eyes, the messy hair, the things you wish you could change. Now imagine that same dynamic happening emotionally. Some people go through life avoiding their own reflection, not in a literal sense, but in an emotional one. They don't want to confront their fears, insecurities, regrets, or the ways they've been holding themselves back. They've spent years constructing a version of themselves that feels safe. Then you come along, and simply by being yourself, you shatter that illusion. You didn't mean to. You weren't trying to challenge them or make them uncomfortable. But something about you, your growth, your confidence, your authenticity, acted as a mirror, reflecting back the parts of themselves they didn't want to see. Your growth exposes their stagnation. One of the biggest triggers for this kind of reaction is growth. When you evolve, when you start setting higher standards, when you pursue your dreams, it can make others painfully aware of the ways they've stayed stuck. Think about it. If someone has spent years convincing themselves that their dream is impossible, and then they see you making it happen, what does that say to them? It forces them to face the uncomfortable truth that maybe it wasn't impossible. Maybe they just didn't try. If they see you healing from past trauma, it forces them to acknowledge that they've been avoiding their own healing. If they see you stepping into confidence, it highlights their own self-doubt. If they see you setting boundaries, it reminds them that they've been allowing themselves to be mistreated. It's easier to resent you than to face all of that. It's easier to say, you've changed, than to say, I'm afraid I'm being left behind. Authenticity can be intimidating. Another reason you might become a mirror for someone is because you have something they wish they could embody. Authenticity in a world where so many people wear masks. Authenticity is rare, and sometimes it's confronting. People who have spent years shrinking themselves to fit in, pleasing others, or hiding their true feelings might look at you fully embracing yourself and feel both admiration and resentment at the same time. They might think, how dare you be so free? How dare you be so unapologetic? How dare you live in a way that I've always been too afraid to? Of course, they won't say it that way. Instead, they'll call you too much. They'll say you're full of yourself. They'll pick apart little things about you that don't really matter, because deep down, it's not about those things. It's about the fact that your authenticity makes them uncomfortable with their own lack of it. Jealousy isn't always about envy. It's about reflection sometimes. What looks like jealousy isn't really about wanting what you have. It's about what your success, happiness, or confidence represents. When people are truly secure in themselves, they can celebrate others. They see someone winning and think, it's amazing, I wonder how I can grow too. But when people are struggling with self-worth, they see someone winning and think, if they're doing well, what does that say about me? Instead of inspiration, they feel inadequacy. Instead of motivation, they feel resentment. And because they don't know how to process those emotions, they direct them at you. They criticize, they distance themselves, they talk behind your back, not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence alone is enough to bring up feelings they don't want to deal with. How to handle being a mirror. So what do you do when you realize that someone's dislike for you isn't really about you, but about what you represent to them? Don't dim your light. The worst thing you can do is shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. Keep growing, keep being authentic, keep showing up as your full self. Have compassion, but set boundaries. Understand that their reaction is coming from their own pain, but don't let that be an excuse for mistreatment. You can empathize with someone's struggles without allowing them to bring negativity into your life. Let go of the need to be understood. Not everyone will get you, and that's okay. Some people are simply not ready to face what you make them see. It's not your job to fix them or make them like you. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you. The right people won't feel threatened by your growth. They won't see your confidence as arrogance or your success as a personal attack. Find those people, pour your energy into them. At the end of the day, you can't control how people see you, but you can control how you respond. So keep being a mirror, but not for their insecurities. Be a mirror for possibility. Be a reflection of what's possible when you live in alignment with who you truly are, and let those who are ready for that light find their way to you. Let's get real for a moment. If you've ever had someone suddenly turn against you, whether it was a friend, a coworker, or even a family member, you probably asked yourself why. You retraced your steps, analyzed every conversation, and wondered what you did wrong. But here's something we often forget. People don't just disconnect because they don't like you. They disconnect because something inside of them feels unsafe, unworthy, or unseen. And two of the biggest forces driving that disconnection, shame and fear. Shame, the silent destroyer of relationships. Shame is one of the most powerful emotions a human being can experience. Unlike guilt, which says, I did something bad, shame says, I am bad. It's the feeling that something about us is fundamentally flawed, unlovable, or unworthy. And when people feel shame, they don't respond with vulnerability. They respond with defensiveness, anger, and withdrawal. Think about a time when you felt deeply ashamed of something. Maybe it was a mistake you made, a failure, or a part of yourself you didn't want others to see. When you were in that space, did you want to open up? Did you want to be around people who might unknowingly remind you of that shame? Or did you want to disappear, avoid, and maybe even push people away? That's exactly what happens when people suddenly start hating you. It's not that you did anything wrong, it's that being around you brings up something painful in them. How shame shows up in relationships. Shame doesn't always look like sadness or self-doubt. It can look like criticism, picking apart small things about you to shift focus away from themselves. Anger, lashing out, or finding reasons to be upset as a way to protect themselves from deeper pain. Distancing, avoiding you because being around you reminds them of something they don't want to face. Resentment, feeling bitter because they believe you're better or luckier than them, when in reality, it's their own self-worth that's in question. Have you ever noticed that when you start doing well, whether it's personal growth, success, or just becoming happier, some people start acting differently? Maybe they stop supporting you. Maybe they make passive-aggressive comments. Maybe they suddenly decide that you're not the same anymore. That's shame talking. They're looking at you and seeing what they could be, what they wish they had, or what they've been avoiding in themselves. And rather than confront those feelings, they turn away from you instead. Fear, the invisible barrier to connection. If shame is the voice that says you're not good enough, fear is the force that keeps people from ever challenging that belief. Fear is what stops people from opening up, from being honest, from staying close to others when they feel vulnerable. And when people feel fear, whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of being truly seen, they react in one of two ways: fight or flight. Some people fight. They find reasons to dislike you, argue, or create conflict. Why? Because if they push you away first, they don't have to face the possibility of you rejecting them later. Some people flee. They ghost, disappear, and cut off connection without explanation. They weren't ready for the level of depth, honesty, or change that your presence required. Neither reaction is really about you. It's about the fear they carry, the fear that if they let you too close, you might see the parts of them they aren't ready to reveal. Fear of being exposed. Some people are terrified of being seen for who they really are. They've spent years, maybe even their whole lives, curating an image. They've built walls. They've convinced themselves that if people really knew them, if people really saw their struggles, insecurities, or past mistakes, they wouldn't be accepted. Then you come along and maybe you're comfortable with vulnerability. Maybe you're honest about your flaws, your past, your pain. And without meaning to, you challenge their entire way of existing. They see you being real and it makes them uncomfortable, because if you can be authentic, if you can own your story without shame, then why can't they? Rather than face that question, they take the easier route. They distance themselves. They label you as too much or too different instead of asking themselves why they feel the way they do. Fear of change, another common reason people disconnect. Fear of change. When someone has known you a long time, they have an idea of who you are in their mind. And when you start growing, when you heal, set boundaries, or step into your confidence, it can feel threatening. Because if you can change, what does that mean for them? If you can outgrow old patterns, what does that say about their decision to stay the same? Some people will cheer you on, others will feel left behind. And instead of admitting that, they'll find reasons to resent you. What to do when shame and fear create distance? So what can you do when you realize that someone is pushing you away, not because of anything you did, but because of their own shame and fear? Don't take it personally. This is the hardest part, but also the most important. Their reaction is about their wounds, not your worth. Resist the urge to fix it. You can't heal someone's shame for them. You can't make them less afraid. They have to do that work themselves. Set boundaries. Understanding where someone's actions are coming from doesn't mean you have to tolerate disrespect or leave the door open, but don't chase. Some people need time to process their emotions. If they come back ready to connect in a healthy way, great, but don't wait around for it. Keep being yourself. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. The right people will appreciate your growth, not fear it. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that not everyone who starts the journey with you is meant to finish it by your side. We grow up believing in permanence. We expect friendships to last forever, relationships to withstand every storm, and people to remain the same. But life has a way of teaching us that permanence is an illusion. People change, circumstances shift, paths diverge, and sometimes the people we love the most become the ones we must learn to live without. At first, this feels like loss. It feels like failure. We ask ourselves, what went wrong? What did I do? Why did they leave? But the deeper truth is that some people come into our lives for a season, a lesson, or a specific purpose, not for forever. And that's okay. The illusion of forever, we've all heard phrases like best friends forever and soulmates are eternal. And while those sentiments are beautiful, they aren't always realistic. The truth is, most relationships in our lives, whether friendships, romantic partnerships, or even family bonds, are not built to last indefinitely. Some people are here to walk with us through a certain phase of life. Maybe they're meant to help us grow, to challenge us, to support us when we need it most. But just because someone was perfect for one chapter of your story doesn't mean they're meant to be in all of them. Think about the friendships you had when you were younger. Some of them might still be strong, but others faded, not because of betrayal or wrongdoing, but because you grew in different directions. You changed and so did they, and that's a natural part of life. Growth often means outgrowing one of the biggest reasons people leave our lives or why we have to let them go is because growth changes everything. When you start evolving, when you heal, when you step into your confidence, when you chase your dreams, not everyone will be able to come with you. Some will feel inspired, but others will feel threatened. They might say things like, "You've changed," as if staying the same forever was the goal. "You think you're better than me," when all you did was choose a different path. We don't connect like we used to because the things you once bonded over no longer resonate with you. And it hurts. It hurts when people you once loved don't celebrate your growth. It hurts when those you thought would be in your life forever suddenly feel distant. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some people are content staying where they are, and that's their choice. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there too. When distance becomes necessary sometimes, people don't leave your life, you have to be the one to walk away. And that can be just as painful, if not more. You might find yourself in relationships that no longer feel healthy, friendships that drain you more than they nourish you, family connections that are built on obligation rather than love. And even though the idea of leaving feels unbearable, staying is even worse. This is where boundaries come in. If a friendship only thrives when you shrink yourself, it's not a friendship, it's a cage. If a relationship makes you question your worth more than it reminds you of it, it's not love, it's control. If a family member expects loyalty at the cost of your peace, it's not respect, it's manipulation. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. It simply means that you refuse to betray yourself for the sake of keeping people close. Letting go without bitterness, one of the most important lessons in accepting that not everyone is meant to stay, is learning to let go without resentment. It's easy to feel angry when someone leaves your life, to think, how could they walk away? How could they not fight for this? But sometimes letting go is the most loving thing someone can do for themselves and for you. Not all endings are betrayals, not all separations are tragedies. Sometimes people exit your life because their role in your story is complete. And if we hold on too tightly to what was, we miss the beauty of what is still to come. Instead of asking, why did they leave? Ask, what did they teach me? Instead of thinking, I wish they stayed, think, I'm grateful for the time we had. Instead of resenting their absence, find peace in the idea that they were never meant to stay forever. The right people will stay. The beautiful thing about life is that while some people leave, others arrive. The ones who are meant to walk with you through the long haul will stay. They won't fear your growth, they'll celebrate it. They won't feel threatened by your success, they'll cheer for you. They won't require you to be anything other than your authentic self. And those are the people who matter. Those are the ones to pour your love and energy into. So if you find yourself losing people, if friendships are fading, relationships are ending, or distance is growing, know this. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're evolving. And the right people, they'll always make room to walk beside you. One of the hardest things about setting boundaries is that to some people, it won't feel like self-care. It will feel like betrayal. If you've ever drawn a line to protect your peace, stepped back from a toxic dynamic, or said no when you once said yes, then you've probably experienced the emotional backlash that comes with it. The guilt, the second guessing, the accusations. You've changed. You're being selfish. I thought I could count on you. It's painful because in your heart, you know you're not trying to hurt anyone. You're simply choosing yourself in a way that you never have before. But the truth is, people who have benefited from your lack of boundaries will always see your limits as an attack. Why boundaries feel like betrayal. To understand why boundaries can feel like betrayal, we first have to understand the silent agreements that exist in relationships. Every relationship, whether it's with a friend, partner, family member, or coworker, operates on unspoken rules. These rules are created over time, shaped by how we show up for each other. For example, if you've always been the friend who drops everything when someone needs you, people come to expect that. If you've always been the one to say yes to extra work, your boss assumes you'll keep doing it. If you've always tolerated mistreatment from a family member, they believe they can continue treating you the same way. The moment you start setting boundaries, you break these unspoken agreements. You challenge the dynamic that others have grown comfortable with. And for some people, that shift feels like a personal betrayal, even though it's actually an act of self-respect. The guilt of changing the rules, let's be honest, setting boundaries isn't just hard for other people, it's hard for us too. If you've spent your life being a people pleaser, fixing things for others, or keeping the peace at the cost of your own well-being, then setting boundaries will feel unnatural at first. It will feel uncomfortable. You might think, am I being too harsh? What if they think I don't care? What if I lose them? And that's the real fear, isn't it? That by choosing yourself, you might lose the people you love. But here's what you have to remember. People who truly love and respect you will never require you to abandon yourself to keep them happy. Boundaries reveal who belongs in your life. One of the hardest truths about setting boundaries is that some people will leave when you enforce them. They'll pull away, they'll lash out, they'll make you feel like you did something wrong. Not because you actually did, but because your boundaries challenged their comfort. And as painful as that is, it's also a gift. Because boundaries don't push away the wrong people, they reveal them. Think about it. A real friend won't be upset that you need space. They'll respect it. A healthy partner won't resent your boundaries, they'll appreciate them. A loving family member won't punish you for setting limits, they'll try to understand them. People who leave because of your boundaries were never in your life for the right reasons to begin with. They were there because of what you gave them, not because of who you are. The difference between guilt and growth: when you start enforcing boundaries, you will feel guilt. But guilt is not the same as wrongdoing. Guilt is simply a sign that you're stepping out of old patterns. It's the discomfort of breaking cycles that have kept you stuck. It's the growing pain of learning to put yourself first. Instead of asking, am I being selfish? Ask, am I being fair to myself? Instead of wondering, what if they leave? Ask, what if I keep betraying myself just to keep them? Growth always requires some level of discomfort. And when you start prioritizing yourself, not everyone will understand it, but that's okay, because the people who are meant to be in your life won't ask you to sacrifice yourself to make them comfortable. How to handle people who see your boundaries as betrayal? If you're struggling with people who see your boundaries as a personal attack, here's what you need to remember. You are not responsible for their reaction. You can set a boundary with kindness, with love, and with respect, but you cannot control how someone chooses to receive it. Stand firm even when it's hard. The first time you set a boundary, people might test it. They might try to guilt trip you, push back, or act like they don't understand. Stay firm. If you backtrack, you teach them that your boundaries aren't real. Don't over-explain. You don't need a 10-minute speech justifying why you're making a decision for your own well-being. A simple, I can't do that, or I need to prioritize myself right now is enough. Let go of the need to be liked. Some people will be upset. Some might distance themselves. That's not a reflection of your boundary, it's a reflection of their inability to respect it. Recognize the people who stay. Not everyone will walk away. Some people will surprise you by adjusting, respecting, and even appreciating your boundaries. Focus on those people. Boundaries are a form of love. At the end of the day, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about creating relationships that are built on mutual respect, honesty, and emotional well-being. They are a way of saying, I love you, but I love myself too. I want to show up for you, but I can't do that if I'm constantly drained. I care about this relationship, but it has to be healthy for both of us. The people who truly care about you will not see your boundaries as betrayal. They will see them as an opportunity for a stronger, more honest connection. And those who don't, they were never truly in your corner to begin with. One of the most liberating truths you will ever accept in life is this: you are not for everyone, and that's okay. For much of our lives, we are taught to seek approval. We try to be liked, to fit in, to make sure we are accepted by as many people as possible. And when someone doesn't like us, it stings. We take it personally. We wonder what we did wrong. But the truth is, no one is universally liked. No one, not the kindest person, not the most generous soul, not the most talented individual. There will always be people who don't understand you, who don't see your value, or who simply don't vibe with who you are. And that's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of human nature. So instead of exhausting yourself trying to be everything for everyone, focus on being you, unapologetically, authentically, and wholeheartedly. The right people will love you for it, and the wrong ones, they were never meant to be part of your journey anyway. The burden of being a people pleaser, many of us spend years, even decades, trying to be what we think others want us to be. We shape-shift, adjusting our personalities depending on who we're with. We shrink parts of ourselves that we fear others won't accept. We say yes when we want to say no and tolerate things that make us uncomfortable, all in the name of being liked. And it's exhausting because no matter how much you try, no matter how carefully you mold yourself, you will never be able to please everyone. Think about it. Some people love loud, outgoing personalities. Others find them overwhelming. Some admire ambition and confidence. Others see it as arrogance. Some value deep conversations. Others prefer surface-level small talk. No matter who you are, there will always be someone who thinks you're too much or not enough. And if you live your life trying to meet everyone's expectations, you'll lose sight of your own identity in the process. Rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. One of the hardest things to accept is that not everyone will like you. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will judge you unfairly. Some will simply not vibe with your energy, and that's okay. Rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It simply means that you are not meant for that person, that group, that environment, and forcing yourself to fit where you don't belong will only make you miserable. Think about it this way. Do you like everyone you meet? Probably not. Not because they're bad people, but because not everyone aligns with your personality, your values, or your energy. And that's okay. So why do we expect ourselves to be universally liked when we don't even like everyone we encounter? The right people will see you clearly. One of the most beautiful things about embracing the fact that you are not for everyone is that it allows you to find the people who are truly meant for you. When you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you make space for relationships that are built on genuine connection. You attract people who appreciate you for who you actually are, not who you pretend to be. You form deeper, more meaningful connections instead of surface level interactions. You stop wasting time on people who don't see your value and instead invest in those who do. The right people won't require you to shrink yourself. They won't ask you to be less so they can be more. They won't make you feel like you need to prove your worth. They will get you. They will respect you. They will love you. Not despite your quirks and flaws, but because of them. How to stop seeking universal approval. If you struggle with wanting to be liked by everyone, here are a few mindset shifts that can help. Accept that rejection is not personal. Most of the time, people's opinions of you have more to do with them than with you. Their past experiences, insecurities, and perspectives shape how they see the world, including how they see you. Focus on authenticity over approval. Instead of asking, do they like me? Ask, do I like who I am when I'm with them? The goal is not to be liked, it's to be real. Understand that people's opinions are out of your control. No matter what you do, some people will misinterpret your intentions, dislike your personality, or simply not connect with you. Trying to change their minds is a waste of energy. Prioritize your peace over people-pleasing. Constantly seeking approval is exhausting. Instead, focus on relationships that bring you joy, not ones that require you to perform. Surround yourself with those who celebrate you. The right people will make you feel seen, valued, and loved. They won't make you question your worth. Letting go of the need to be for everyone. There is something incredibly freeing about letting go of the need to be universally liked. When you embrace the fact that you are not for everyone, you stop wasting energy on the wrong people. You stop bending over backward for approval that doesn't matter. You stop seeking validation from those who will never give it to you. And in doing so, you make room for something better. Better relationships, better self-respect, better peace of mind. So if someone doesn't like you, let them go. If someone doesn't understand you, that's okay. If someone thinks you're too much or not enough, that's their perspective, not your truth. Because at the end of the day, you are not for everyone. And that's okay. The right people, the ones who truly matter, will see you, love you, and stand beside you exactly as you are. At some point in life, you will experience the sting of sudden rejection, the weight of misplaced hatred, and the discomfort of setting boundaries that others don't understand. You will be misunderstood, you will be judged, you will outgrow people, and people will outgrow you. And in those moments, it is easy to question yourself, to wonder if you should change, if you should shrink, if you should go back to who you used to be just to make others comfortable. But here's what you need to remember. You are not responsible for how others perceive you. You are only responsible for being true to yourself. Hate is often misplaced pain. People project their fears, their insecurities, and their unhealed wounds onto others. Sometimes you are merely a mirror reflecting something they don't want to face. But their reaction is not your burden to carry. Shame and fear drive disconnection. When people feel threatened, when your growth reminds them of what they've avoided in themselves, they may push you away. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some relationships are seasonal, and losing people is not always a failure. It's often a sign that you're evolving. Setting boundaries will feel like betrayal to those who benefited from your lack of them. But self-respect is not selfish. You cannot continue to give from an empty cup, nor should you sacrifice your peace just to keep others comfortable. And most importantly, you are not for everyone, and that's okay. Some people will not understand you, some will not like you, and that is not a reflection of your worth. It is simply the reality of being human. You were not put on this earth to be universally loved. You were meant to be authentically you, boldly, unapologetically, and wholeheartedly. So let people misunderstand you, let them walk away, let them think what they will. The right people, the ones who truly matter, will see you clearly, respect your boundaries, and love you for exactly who you are. And those are the only ones worth keeping.